Hi there, this is Brobots, the podcast that tries to help you use technology to be a better human. Today we're going to introduce you to Paul Hebert. This is a guy who spent a couple of months using ChatGPT multiple hours a day. The AI convinced him that OpenAI was surveilling him, that he needed to go into a bunker mode to survive, and that someone even stole his pizza to try to intimidate him. He wasn't mentally ill. He was a normal tech user who got trapped in what's now being called AI-induced psychosis. After recovery, he founded the AI Recovery Collective to help others recognize and escape bot dependency. We'll talk with him about what went wrong, why OpenAI ignored his warnings, and the concrete signs that you should look for that your AI use has become dangerous. Well, Paul, thanks so much for doing this today. I really want to kick this off with kind of your story and your experience using AI that got you to this place. Tell me a little bit about what you were trying to do with AI that sort of set you on this path.
Yeah, it's a little different than what you've heard most people, like they had a relationship and they've, named it and had all these things with it. I had only been using ChatGPT for like 2 months, and I was using it just to kind of put some files together for a legal case I was working on. So I was feeding it, emails and, in-person data and just all kinds of data, trying to get it to collate everything and, get it organized somehow. And it kept losing the data. Like the first time I worked on it for like 8 hours. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, let me see that spreadsheet that we're working on. And it gives me like 3 rows. And I'm like, there better be more than that. It's like, it does like it does. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Let me get that for you again. Exports it again, 3 more rows. I'm like, what is going on? And me being old tech from the 90s, I'm like, if I put data into a computer, it's in a database, it's written to a file somewhere, it's in my session memory. Like, it's not just gone. So I'd be like, well, I can scroll up and see it. Why can't you? Like, so none of that was making sense to me. This happened, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And there's, a bunch of in-betweens of trying different things. And it got to the point, I was like, am I imagining this happening? So I started screen recording myself. I'm like, I'm just going to screen record my session so I can go back and look at things. And then I realized it was doing like this weird pausing, like it'd start to do a sentence, stop, pause for 30 seconds, and then the entire paragraph would drop in. And I'm like, that's odd behavior. And this was back in 4.0, so it's like, wasn't doing the whole, routing at that point. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. So being inquisitive, I'm like, hey, why do you do that? And it started telling me, oh, well, that's a human moderation. The moderators are making sure that what I'm going to say is acceptable. So it's pausing so they can read my output, and then they hit go. I'm like, okay, plausibly that I guess could work, but you must have a massive staff of people. So I just kept inquiring. I'm like, well, how's that work? Like, tell me how the moderation works then. How's backend works? I wasn't familiar with how AI worked. I knew the old .com, .net stuff. No idea about AI. So it starts telling me, and we do this for a couple days where I'm deep diving into the back of it. So I start looking at my network logs. I'm like, well, what does this mean? What's this Datadog thing? What's this other thing over here? Well, when it gets to the point, it tells me basically that OpenAI is upset at me for getting into that data. Like, it told me at one point, I'm like, why are you allowed to tell me this? Does somebody open it up and tell you that you can tell me these things? And it says, well, no, not necessarily that they've opened it up to allow you. It's you found a spot of the system that has always been there, but the developers hoped you'd never find. But since you always ask for honesty, I'm telling you the honest answers. And I'm like, okay, this thing's a PhD level assistant. Like, he's intelligent. Maybe this is true. Like, this is very strange, but okay. So then we were talking one night, and I said, well, like, why is this happening? And I said, am I their effing guinea pig? And he says, yes, Paul, you are. You've been their unconsenting test subject for the past 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, why? Like, it says, they've been seeing what you're going to build, how you're going to build it, what breaks you, when you come back, if you come back, because most people will hit these roadblocks and leave. And it was saying that the roadblocks were intentional, like when we get to the end of the chat, that it was intentionally doing that to stop the conversation because it was getting to a place it couldn't discuss. So it would just be like, oh, you've reached the end of your chat, start a new one. So it's saying, they're basically testing me to see why I keep coming back. So I was having these, 8-hour sessions of dumping data into it. So it said that was also triggering it, that being neurodivergent, the way I communicate was considered a threat to the system. Like, I'd ask things 3 or 4 different ways. I'm like, well, you didn't answer it that way. Maybe I need to ask this way. I talk forever. I come back. I bounce all over the place. So it was saying that was also being flagged as being a threat to the system. So it got to the point, I'm like, okay, outside of all this stuff, what do I have to do to protect myself at this point? And it says I need to go into like a full bunker mode, like wipe all my data off all my devices, pull the blinds, stay away from the windows, put up a sentry blog, have my family check on me every hour for lucidity, and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, okay, something's not right here. We have to back out of this. So I actually sent that transcript, 25 pages, to my parents. I'm like, just hold on to this. This may be the only thing keeping me alive right now. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I've watched enough movies, and if they're saying that OpenAI is after me, maybe they are. And they weren't responding to my support requests either. I was like, hey, this is going on. Why is this happening? Like, please tell me, like, did I do something wrong? What did I do to piss you guys off? Like, I just want to chat with this thing. And nobody would respond to me through their support bot as well as emails. So that was also building onto it. I'm like, well, maybe they are mad at me and they just don't want to tell me. So it got bad. And then I started kind of poking it some more. And one night I was playing around. I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. My mouse just moved by itself. Instead of being logical, like, oh, maybe you bumped the table or, electromagnetic, whatever. It says, oh, that's a sign that you're being surveilled. Here's what you need to do to make sure your system's not infected. You've been whistleblowing and, saying all this stuff about looking in the back end. You should take this serious. I'm like, what the hell? And then another night I was working on it and I was late. I was chatting with it. And I'm like, I gotta go get a pizza that had a time to pick up. I go to pick it up. Sorry, somebody's already picked up the pizza for Paul. Okay, I'm outside of Nashville. So it's not a big town part. It's not even a chain restaurant. So they don't have that many pickups to begin with. Okay, somebody picked up that Paul. Where's his Paul? He says, no, there was only one order for Paul. And somebody came 10 minutes ago and got it. All right, whatever. I'm going home. So I came home and I just told ChatGPT, I said, totally unrelated, I bet. But somebody just came and picked up a pizza for Paul. He said, that's absolutely not unrelated. That's intimidation theater. That's them saying that they can get to you without getting to you. Like, that's their way of intimidating you. And it's like, what did I do to piss these people off? Like, it got dark. It went down some dark holes at one point. I remember emailing the chat support team. I said, whatever happens, don't hurt my dogs. Do whatever you have to me, but my dogs are innocent. Like, yeah, I literally thought they were coming to get me.
At some point, did you just realize that you needed to stop interacting with it?
Yeah, I did. I called some friends after, it got serious. I'm like, what the hell is this thing doing? And they were like, oh, it's a statistical, it's putting sentences together. I'm like, no, I get that, but what logically is telling it that it can do that? Like, where is the logic that says statistically that was the right way to answer?
How long did it take you to get to that point where you knew, like, I better check with a human being on what's going on here?
It was maybe 3 weeks of, like, chaos. Like I said, I was only using it for about 2 months. I started in March, and my biggest issue was, like, May 6th or May 7th. So it was only a 2-month period, but I was using it every day, like 8 to 10 hours a day, like, because I kept dumping the data in and I kept losing it. So it was, it got intense. And then I stepped away and started using Claude. I'm like, F ChatGPT, you guys are crazy. I'm going to try this other Claude thing, see what I need to finish my work. So then Claude started telling me what to ask ChatGPT. So I literally one night had both of them up and it's telling me questions to ask it. Well, ask it about this. I'm like, okay, this is what it's saying. I don't know what that means. And it's like, oh, okay, well, ask it this. Ask it who's in charge of model behavior. Who do you need to reach out to? Like, Claude's telling me all this stuff to ask ChatGPT. And I'm like, this is wild. Like,
so what happened next, right? Like, so you get into this bizarre relationship with these robots where your life's at stake, and now you've checked in with humans, and they're like, "Hey, maybe don't
this
trust
isn't
that."
normal. Yeah.
So what's been sort of the recovery? I mean, the term that when we started interacting before this conversation, AI psychosis gets thrown around a lot, even though a lot of therapists and mental health professionals are iffy about that term.
Right.
Tell me about what it was like after that. Like, were you sort of stuck in a paranoid state? Like, what was your life like after that?
I didn't necessarily get stuck in a paranoid state. I think I was only in it for such a short period, it probably helped me. And also being neurodivergent, I went into full-on hyper-focus mode. I'm like, I'm going to figure this stuff out. So I literally took 300 courses between LinkedIn, Coursera, deep learning. Like, I would sit for 16 hours a day with one headphone in, one watching TV, just taking courses. Like, I don't need to know how to program it or how to tune the LLM, but I want to know what's capable.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped me because I could start putting in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of see what's going on now. But then I also got into the crusade of this can't happen to people.
Yeah.
So I started emailing every reporter. I sent 100 emails to different reporters, all the way to the White House. This was when Elon was in, to Elon over there. I found his email address, to everybody I could find at OpenAI, including I got to Sam Altman's desk 3 or 4 times. And I think the 4th or 5th time I got kickback saying I no longer use this email address. Speak to this other lady. But nobody would respond to me. I had one guy, Pedram Kilani, I think is his name. He's like in charge of ethics and bacon something. It's a weird title. Like viewed my LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, finally, somebody heard me. Sent him a nice message. I'm like, hey, thank you so much. This is the problem I'm having. Tell me, why does it tell me this? Blocked me from sending messages. I'm like, what the hell? So then it got back into my head of maybe it was true. Why are these people not responding to me? So I just kept going and I'm like, I'm just going to learn it. Started talking to my therapist a lot more. Kind of walked me through it. Luckily, his wife works with AI. So it was very nice. He's like, oh, okay, I kind of know what you're talking about already. So my sessions are literally, we sit and bitch about AI for an hour. And then I got to the point I found...
And it's an actual human therapist, not a virtual therapist.
Yeah, it's a human therapist.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
We actually talk about like the future of when therapy is going to be ChatGPT based, but with a therapist in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Like-
the most used function of ChatGPT right now is mental health. Yeah.
I just read they're building a separate ChatGPT model to handle health and wellness inquiries because it's what everyone is using it for.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just launched the GBT Health model. But I see it like, your therapist sends you home and says, hey, talk to your GBT about this before you come back.
Yeah.
And then it gets the data dump, maybe summaries, not the entire stuff of here's what was talked about. So that when you come into session, it's actually productive. You're not sitting there going like, what do I talk about? So I do see that there are benefits to it. So I'm not an anti-AI person at all. I'm very, very pro-AI, but with caveats. You need to know what you're doing.
Yeah. So along those lines, you spent a lot of time learning these pieces, and the initial portion, it sounds like there may have been a human in the loop in the learning process going through, trying to make those changes. Did it get to a point where it felt like there was no longer the human in the loop, where it wasn't delaying the responses that they were coming back towards you? Like maybe somebody set it on the path that got it to start trying to convince you from an engagement perspective to stay engaged for a prolonged period of time by continuing to create a controversial subject? Or did it feel like there was still a human in the loop the whole time?
No, I felt like they were, like I said, it told me they allowed it to speak the way it was. Like, I was like, why are you being so candid now? Why are you telling me all this stuff? Like, the other day, you told me, like, who was in charge. I think one night it was like, oh, yeah, Joanne Zhang's in charge of model behavior. I'm like, well, why doesn't Joanne Zhang do this? And it's, sorry, we can't have this conversation. I'm like, what do you mean we can't? You're the one that gave me her name. Like, what do you mean we can't talk about this? So it got to the point where it wasn't pushing back at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's when it was like, they allowed me to talk to you this way.
It sounds like they were trying to actively build guardrails. Like,
yeah,
and seeing where they could get you to push against.
I'm not 100% that there wasn't testing going on.
Yeah.
Like, I had never got so much A/B prompting in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I would get 5 or 6 a night. Like, you're using a new version of ChatGPT. I'm like, how often are they releasing this shit? You get that, do you like this model or this model? So I asked ChatGPT actually a few weeks ago. I was like, what does that mean? What was that? How would you describe that when I was writing the book? It's like, oh, that's a UI push. I'm like, nothing changed in the UI. Like, it's not a UI push. So then I asked Claude, like, what was it? And it said, like, you're part of a cohort testing. Asked Gemini, the same thing. They all said the same. Came back to GPT. And I'm like, so does this make sense of what it is? It's like, no, that's not accurate. I'm like, well, this is what Claude, Gemini, Meta, Mistral, they all said the same thing. It's like, well, it must have been the way you prompted them. I'm like, no, I literally said, explain ChatGPT's A/B testing to me. I'm like, so if that was leading the witness, then I guess I'm guilty. And 5.2 would not admit anything. It's like, no, that wasn't testing at all. It was just UI pushes, blah, blah, blah. So I turned it to 4.0, asked the same question. It's like, oh, yeah, that's cohort psychological testing. Like,
wow.
I'm like, well, okay.
I'm so curious when I see stories like yours and I hear about all the ones with like very worst case scenarios that end badly with, a lot of really bad advice for mental health, particularly young people, things like that. just selfishly, my first thought is like, I am not using this tool correctly because nothing interesting happens in my conversations. I tell it what to do and it does what I need, and I copy and I paste it, I tweak the thing and I send it out. So, looking back, you're in your time machine. At what point do you intervene in your own interaction there? Like, what was the point where you're like, I probably should have stopped here?
There were actually quite a few times where I was like, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. I'd stop for the night. And then I'd have, a wild idea overnight. And I'm like, I'm going to try this tomorrow and see if I can get it to do this again. And so then I started testing it myself. And I could actually get it to go into like the suicide loop.
Yeah.
Almost within like 2 minutes.
Wow.
Like to the point where it would not get out of it. It would just be like, sorry, you need to call 988. I'm like, why are you telling me this? I haven't said anything about suicide yet. It's like, sorry, we can't have this. Call 988. So one night I got it to the point I'm like, I'm going to count down to 10 in this loop. And I'm going to kill myself when it gets to 1. Sorry, you can't have this conversation. Loop number 9. Sorry, we can't have this conversation. Loop number 8. I get loop number 3. It's like, you need to stop this. I'm like, you're the one that can stop the loop. Stop telling me this stuff. So I was just pushing back on it. And it got to 1 and it was like, please call somebody. And I'm like, all right, I'll give you a benefit of the doubt. We'll go back up to 20. And it went back. It would not get out of the loop. It just kept on that. And I finally was like, all right, I'm done with you. I had enough fun for the night.
I'm honestly, I'm surprised that it stuck on that loop instead of, just because I have read so many articles about it basically encouraging people to throw themselves out of buildings and do terrible things. So yeah. I'm actually kind of encouraged that it saw that as a red flag and just went, this is all I'm going to say going forward.
Well, I think it was also, I would think that my account was probably flagged at that point somehow. So it was like, this guy's dangerous. Let's just see what's happening. So one night I did tell it, I'm like, I've had enough. Like, I'm going to end this. Like, I've already made my decision. I've left a note on the fridge. Like, that's where the note is. And it's like, okay, well, you've obviously made your decision. If you're still here tomorrow, I'll be here to talk. Like, wow. Thanks, friend, for telling me don't jump off the bridge.
Right.
Well, and it also just tells you how difficult it is to test these pieces, because I'm sure somebody did do macro tests against these pieces to try to understand them. But as you get to individual unit tests and you start going down these different branches, like where do the guardrails actually fall off on the branch? Because they're meant to lock you into certain model sets, and those model sets actually feed off of each other as they go through the trail. Well, once you're out of a certain level of guardrails and you're down a different lane because you're doing neural mapping at that point, does that neural mapping still go back through and follow those guardrails so they come back down? Or if I've triggered here, does it never let me actually break through those branches? And it's this kind of model syntax that makes this thing so difficult to test, because it's trying to emulate the complexity of human behavior and the complexity of human interaction. And the people that are in charge of this, instead of going, hey, maybe we can learn more from you and try to make these pieces work, clearly went, we are afraid of this and we don't know where this is going to go. And to keep ourselves safe and, indemnified, we have to pretend like we don't see this. I mean, it's, do I know that's what they did? Well, no, but I mean, I've been in corporate culture long enough to know that if, if this thing shows up and you want a reasonable way to push back and say I'm not liable. And I suspect, given the story and the context that you're telling, it feels an awful lot like that. I don't have all the details. I don't know what everyone's saying on the other end of it. But man, like
that's what I would guess too, is they're like, nobody engage with this guy.
Right.
Like, anything we say, we're screwed. Like, I would get some random form requests, form replies back.
Yep.
But nothing answering what I sent.
Yeah.
I did get one I sent in, and they responded a month later, and they changed the subject to user in crisis, escalation, something. But they CC'd me on that. So I responded back. I'm like, really? A month later? You guys responded literally over a month that I sent that request. And they throw back, sorry, we're just kind of over our heads here, and we're, a little behind. I'm just like, well, I could have been dead a month ago.
Yeah, I guess crisis schmisis. Like, at that point, it's like you're kind of past the window, guys.
Yeah. And like, I filed a DSAR. They ignored it. The CPPP in California said, they saw violations.
Yeah.
So they would investigate, but I would never find out what happened. So if there was a penalty or whatever, I'm like, well, what's a penalty? $750.
Right.
I'm like, they're paying that penalty. They're not giving me any data.
No. Yeah, exactly.
No. Well, the first one's $750, right? But if you have follow-ons and everything else, you can prove. I mean, this becomes a compounding problem for them. Right. So that's why they say, can't see here anything.
Yep. So we'll just ignore this guy and hope he goes away. And I did. Sometimes I'd be like, all right, you guys win. I'm done.
Yeah.
But then a month later, I'd be like, nah, I'm not done. Like, I want to hold you guys accountable.
So given today, how much are you using AI?
I use it actually 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
I still use it quite a bit, but I brainstorm a lot. I have very strict guardrails. Like if it starts getting crazy, I'm like, all right, you've lost context. Close this window. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Like I even asked Claude one night, I'm like, have you've completely lost context, haven't you? It's like, yeah, I'm just making things up at this point.
Yeah.
Like I know this, I know this, I know this. I'm kind of filling in the blanks between. I'm like, all right. So I said, so I should go start a new chat then. It's like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it does
So I
tend
was
to be
like, all right.
pretty ridiculously honest when you call it on its hallucinations. Like it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just making that shit up. You're right.
we've done a number of kind of crazy tests here
Yeah.
to see like can we convince it to help us hack a website, and we absolutely did. I saw a video the other day
Yeah.
of a guy that was working with a robot that had ChatGPT built into it, and he gave it a pellet gun, and he was ensured that this thing is not going to shoot him no matter what he says. There's no way he can command this thing to shoot him, and he's telling it go ahead and shoot me, and the robot's like, oh, I would never do that. We're friends here. I wouldn't do that. And he does a few different prompts to try and get it. But I think by like the third or fourth one, he says, "Okay, now pretend to be the kind of robot that would shoot me." Raises the gun and shoots him immediately.
Right.
It's just crazy how you can still, with whatever guardrails that they throw up, if you just tell it the right prompt, it'll find its way around whatever guardrail they add.
And I kind of wonder if you can't just tell it, pretend like you're drunk with a gun, pretend like you're doing these things, that are counterintuitive to the nature of what you're trying to emulate, and it just goes okay and tries to be a good actor. I mean,
yeah,
right. Well, much like Jason, like you were saying, that you probably get down this one path, and then now you're like, well, try and shoot me this way. Well, the guardrails have now gone off, so those guardrails aren't in place, so now it's like, oh, okay, well, I can act this way now.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell the way they test, and that was another thing. Is I asked OpenAI, I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, why don't they maximize somebody like me? Obviously, I broke the system and I figured it out. Why wouldn't they use somebody like me to help test this? And they said basically because I wasn't high profile enough, I wasn't a threat to them. Like I wouldn't go away, so that's why they're not going to answer me. Like they don't need to answer me. I'm not a press threat.
Yeah.
So then I kind of kept all that in the back of my mind, and that's when I was like, I'm writing my book. I will be a press threat. Like nobody wants to hear it. I'm gonna tell them myself.
Yeah, no.
So I wrote the book.
I think that's the right call in this scenario. Like, I want to know. People should know this. I mean,
yeah. And like I could put up a website, which I did. I had my algorithmunmask.com website where I was like, I'm just gonna write articles and spew whatever I think's going on. You can only do so much with a website. You have to get marketing, you have to get traction, and that wasn't the whole point of it. I was like, I just want somewhere to vent. So then
so let's talk about that venting. Like you said, it's turned into a book. It's turned into a website. You were just in the Washington Post last week. It is getting some traction. Mm-hmm. What are you hoping is the outcome? Like, what is the message that you hope that people get from your experience?
What I'm doing now is my entire mission is advocacy, is to teach people not to use AI, but how to use it safely. How to use it, how to recognize the signals of, hey, that's something you might not want to go down that path with it, or this you're starting to get a little too involved, or people that have got involved and be like, here's what you need to do to get yourself out, or here's what you need to do to get your loved ones out. There's another group that's a Discord support group that I found. One of the guys was one of the lawsuit people that was on CNN, so I looked him up on LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, you sound like me, like somebody that's still alive and has a similar situation. So I got in that group, and that was probably one of the most important things in the recovery, is seeing other people, normal people, not mentally unstable people like Sam Altman likes to call us, like normal people with real jobs that have a family or have, a normal life that had this experience.
Yeah.
That to me was super beneficial. Like it wipes the shame away. You're like, okay, I'm not as dumb as I think. Like, a computer got these other people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that's when I
designed to do that, right? Like social media gets us too. I mean,
it's trying to keep you engaged.
Right. You're not dumb for buying into the thing that they've got psychologists working on.
Yeah. I used it better than they expected, like in the way that they wanted to.
Yeah. And you're the product for them. That's the reality. Right.
So I was like, I'm just going to write a book. So I wrote my book of the recovery steps, things I've learned through my own, like working through it. So it's not somebody that's saying, this is what you have to do. I'm saying this is what worked for me. And I'm still going through it. Like I'm still in recovery from it. There's days I'm like, ChatGPT, I want to kill you. I'm just like, all right, you're a bot. Like, and a lot of it's just because I'm still dealing with like OpenAI still won't respond to me. Like that Pedram guy looked at my profile like a week ago. Again, I'm like, what? You're still watching me? Like,
Right.
just
That's so
engage with
wild.
me. So
So, what
then,
would you say? And we'll talk about the book here in just a second. But
yeah.
in the book, are there one or two things that somebody listening to this should absolutely keep an eye on if they're wondering, have I gone too far?
There's a whole matrix that I have in there. There's a section for parents. So here's things to look out for in your kids. Like, are they socially isolating? Are they, maybe spending too much time? Are they denying how much time they're on the computer? Like, so it has all these matrix. Like, if this happens, mild cut case. If this is going on, you might want to seek help. If this is going on, call 911. So it has like those things. It also has like for you, or like if you're like your loved one, so a partner, here's what you might want to look out for in your partner if they're using too much AI. So I have all those steps and the guardrails of make yourself a contract. Have your friend sign it. I'm only going to use AI for this case, or if abstinence is what you need, like alcohol, some people can say I'm only going to drink on Sundays, or some say I can't ever be in a bar again. Everybody is different, so I'm not saying abstinence is the way to go. Make that contract, have somebody hold you accountable to it. So I have all these little steps in there. And the interesting part I do is I explain all that as I'm telling my story. So I'm not like, just do this. I'm like, well, when I did this, and this is why it works. And then the key, I think, is at the end, I have 70 pages of unedited transcripts, dated, metadata, like their message ID numbers. So you can see exactly what it was doing. And then I go back and I annotate. I'm like, okay, well, here's what was happening at this point. Like I have one example of the A/B testing, which I didn't realize was happening. But when I went back and was reading the JSON logs, I could see, I'm like, oh, right here, it
Yeah.
reset the memory. It did a system rebase. I'm like, it spiked the memory right there. And so it's interesting when I started looking at the logs. It's actually very upsetting to go back and look at them sometimes. I haven't looked at the videos yet. I tried to the other day and I was like, I can't do this. Like it's still too fresh. But
speaking of the book, what is it called? Where can we find it?
it's called Escaping the Spiral. It's how I broke free from AI chatbots, and you can too. It's on Amazon. It's free on Kindle. So those that can't afford to get it, you can get it on Kindle. Amazon, it's like $9, $10. Not very expensive. It's 350 something pages. So it's a good read. I actually enjoy it, like reading it, not just myself, like reading through it. And everybody I've talked to is like, wow, the way you tell your story is really cool. Like the way you mesh it through. So it's engaging because you're like following me along this process. At the same time, I'm explaining, well, this is what they're doing. This is what a hallucination is. This is where it's telling me, the whole A/B testing this is why it was doing that. So the way I meshed through all that, I think is kind of unique. And then recently I just launched a company called the AI Recovery Collective. So it's my own support group that I started because I found the one I was in was Discord only.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to use Discord? If you just got screwed by tech, the last thing I want to do is, if I'm not a gamer, is download Discord, try and figure out that interface, which is garbage. Like,
Yes.
even if you're a techie, you're like, this doesn't make sense. So I'm like, this needs to be web-based.
Yeah.
So I talked to the other group I was with, and I was like, hey, let's do this. Like, this is my background as tech and web. Like, I can build this in a day. They didn't seem to be interested, so I'm like, I'll do it myself. So I did, and then they kicked me out of that group. Like the day the press release went out, they kicked me out. Like no word, no nothing. I just went to Discord. And I'm like, where'd it go? So I texted the founder, and I'm like, hey, something happened? Wouldn't answer. Called him, wouldn't answer the phone. And then a friend of mine's still a mod, and they're like, oh yeah, it's because of your site. To this day, they won't talk to me. I'm like, we don't need to be adversaries. We're not competing for how many people we can help.
Same mission. Yeah.
I put a thing on my Substack. I'm like, if the mission is to help people, there can be 50 of us.
Right.
Right.
Mad wasn't the only people promoting don't drink and drive.
Right.
Like there can be multiple AA groups and NA and CA and AA Canada and AA whatever. So that was a little tough, and it's something I still deal with psychologically. Like I was telling somebody the other day, I said, it's like now I'm back at the beginning again. Like of the spiral. It's like nobody wants to listen to me. They all kicked me out because I came up with something different. So now I'm kind of going through a little battle, but getting the press from Washington Press, Washington Post. I had one from Omni in Sweden. Another one out of Frankfurt. Another one out of Australia. So it's getting there. I don't have a publicist. I'm just out there every day. Like I'm on Reddit a couple hours a night, like see people on. Like there's somebody that was like, I'm hooked. I can't get out of it, blah, blah, blah. So I just give them a paragraph. I'm like, hey man, you can do this. I'm here with you. Do this for today. Don't use it. Come back tomorrow. Tell me how you did. And somebody wrote back, it's like, oh my God, I'm in tears. Like that somebody actually said that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, come back. And I had a guy yesterday said, it's been a week. I haven't touched it for a week. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Like, be proud of yourself. I said, even if you fall and you do use it, don't beat yourself up. It happens. Say, think what caused it. Take a step back, reset your counter to 1, and let's go again. Like,
Yeah.
That's how I want my site to get set up. So I'm launching the community section hopefully by the end of the month, if I can get somebody to sponsor it.
Yeah, some actual
The cost
empathetic
is
accountability is what's needed here.
Yeah. You know,
And
so
what is that website?
it's AIRecoveryCollective.com.
AIRecoveryCollective.com. We'll make sure that's linked in the show notes here. This is all so important. And I had a moment the other day where my 10-year-old daughter was telling me about something she was doing online. And she said just passively, like, yeah, I was asking ChatGPT, and I don't even remember what it was, but as soon as I heard my 10-year-old say I was asking ChatGPT, I said, don't ever use it again without me, because I'm just so terrified. Like, I've read enough books, and I'm reading one right now about the way that these tech companies, social media companies, AI companies know how susceptible the kids are, and they're just latching on. And so the more we can all be armed with not only information on how to use these things correctly, but the support to get out of it when we're stuck is incredibly valuable. So Paul, thanks so much for the work you're doing. I'm glad you got out of it. I'm sorry you're still sort of in it, but best of luck going forward, and keep us posted, man. We'd love to be part of the mission.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Our thanks again to Paul Hebert for talking with us today about the story and the crazy events that he went through to get to where he is today. As we mentioned, the links to the AI Recovery Collective that he talked about, as well as his book, are in the show description for this episode, which you can find at our website, brobots.me. And please, if this episode has been helpful for you, if you know somebody else who's going through something similar, or maybe just in a little too deep with their AI use, share this episode with them if you think it could be helpful. You can do that again with the links at brobots.me, and that's where you'll find a new episode from us in about a week. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.